All right. Hey, Nathan, how are you?
Fantastic. How are you today, Lyndall?
Good. Thank you for joining me. So this week we've been talking to all of the major facilitators in the event and getting a bit more of an idea on who they are and what their background is and what you are hoping for people to experience through having you on board. So you're obviously going to be our whole food chef. Do you want to have a little chat about I guess why you've gone down this road and why it's really important to you?
I started my kind of whole food kind of journey about 18 months ago, and things just kind of weren't really adding up for me. Like, I watched both of my grandparents die from cancer when they had, a quote unquote sort of textbook kind of diet, and it just, I just sort of started doing my own research and that kind of thing. And the more I looked into it, the more it just sort of didn't really kind of fit. So I started looking into it, and things like game changers and forks over knives and stuff like that really sort of, they came along a little bit after I was sort of going down that route anyway, and that kind of just confirmed everything I was sort of feeling, and just me in myself in my own life, I wasn't sort of happy, and so much of those chemicals in our brain are responsible for sort of taking root in the gut. So that's really where most of it sort of stems from. So I mean, there is some environmental factors that play into that, but really, like, people just sort of have not been well, we've been misled as a society in a sense of how our food really does affect us. And
Like they say, our stomach is our second brain, or maybe our first brain.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it then goes up to our brain and gives it all the messages. So when that's out of sync, and like all these autoimmune diseases and everything like that is massively stemming from the gut and inflammation.
Absolutely. And just our sense of well-being and euphoria and that kind of thing. Like, I know that after sort of my microbiome adjusted to sort of what I was doing, it really I just feel so much better. And I've just gotten the motivation to sort of do things that I used to love doing, and I really just had to adjust to move forward with the times, because.
So tell me a little bit about microbiome, because I know that's a word that gets thrown around a lot, and just to give people a better understanding that might not necessarily know what that is and what its function is in our body.
Okay, so basically the microbiome in your stomach is the bacteria that develops because of what you're feeding it. So the larger the range of microbiome you have from having a diverse diet, the healthier the sort of ecosystem is essentially down there. So if you're feeding it the wrong thing all of the time, a different type of chemical develops.
Right.
And basically that will react. So if you start to eat a lot of junk food, that's the kind of chemicals that is going to be creating in your stomach. But if you move over to a more whole food, plant-based diet, which has a broader range and it's doing everything. So fiber is like really key here. Like, I don't want to sound like a 90-year-old, but fiber is really one of the most important things that we can be doing for that, to get everything moving along and functioning out how it should.
Source of fiber, because like there's so much information out there, but so many, so many misguided forms of information that, I think that's what we're really trying to create in this event, is educating people on a really holistic spectrum on what is and why and how.
Okay, so basically, if you process something, you're moving all of the natural fibers out of it. So, smoothies are still good because you're not removing the pulp.
Yeah.
But if you're juicing, that's when you're really taking away the fibers and you're really kind of increasing the caloric intake. So if you...
What about cold press juicing?
Cold press juicing is much better.
Yeah.
And it doesn't damage the all of the elements in the fruit that you want to keep intact. So if you are going to juice, definitely cold press is the way to go. But smoothies are better in a sense that they do leave all of that sort of fiber in there, which you can digest. So, yeah. But really, you do want to have a very sort of broad range of microbiome in the stomach, and that will just increase your mood, your energy, everything, you know.
Yeah. And it is amazing. I think we really do underestimate how much our diet really affects all of that, like our well-being and our ability to concentrate and energy and all of those sorts of things. But I feel like the major problem most people have is, one, knowing what to eat and what the balance looks like, and, you know, not wanting to get caught up in the fads of being a vegetarian or a vegan or whatever that might look like. And that's, again, why I love, I suppose, you as a chef, because it's not about labels. It's just whole food, real food.
That's right.
Balance.
You said it right there, Lyndall. It's real food. And, you know, regardless of the sort of concept that you want to follow from a dietary point of view, keeping the processed stuff out of the diet as much as you can is really the best way anyone can go. Like, if you're, you know, taking some fruits and vegetables or a piece of fish or whatever, or some tofu or some chickpeas, and you're processing it with your own hands, you know, your energy is going into that as well. It's not just, you know, the fact that you are processing it yourself and, you know, has had limited sort of
chemical
interference, shall we say, with a process that you generally don't know anything about. You know, like, most people just have no idea about where their food comes from, and this is a really good way of getting back in touch with your food, your family, you know, getting around
making
a table.
Communal. Yeah,
that's right. And
with our European cultures, food is the way of bringing people together. It's cooking together and eating together and sharing together. And, you know, today's day and age, I think we've really lost that concept of what food can do for us.
Absolutely. And just that energetic exchange that you get when you're sitting around a table with your friends and your family, you know, like, you can't really sort of substitute that for anything, you know. You know, taste, and you can taste the love as well. So, you know, there's a reason why mums always taste the best, you know, because she makes it with love. Grandma makes it with love, you know. I make my food with love, you know.
You can taste it. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. But, you know, and yeah, like, it's just been lost in our sort of busy society in this day and age. And, you know, it's something that Australia's kind of lacked in our development with culture, you know, like you were saying, versus like the Europeans and like the Asians and Middle Eastern sort of cultures. You know, they date back however many thousands of years or whatever. And, you know, we're only a couple of 100 years old here. So we're kind of taking bits and pieces and kind of making it up as we go along. To a certain extent, you know. But I really do think the changes that we've seen in the world in the last sort of 12 months or so are really going to sort of, people have been forced to slow down, and we can already see the impact that it's had on the planet, you know, just by moving less, you know. Sadhguru said it best. I think the answers are not anywhere else, there in you. So, you know, and you're only going to get that by stopping and slowing down and looking at how you go about your business, you know. And that's what I've taken out of that anyway. But
and I like, that's a good point, because I think as a general society, we just think, oh, well, you know, it's not my problem, or how can what I do impact the rest of the world, and, you know, all of those sorts of things. But with every conscious decision that we make with the products we buy, the foods we eat, where we shop, you know, what we're doing for sustainability and recyclability, it does make an impact, although small. If everyone is more conscious about the decisions that they're making, then, you know, obviously it is going to make an impact overall. So
Absolutely.
I think it's a great point. So, but I would really love to touch on that. We're planning on doing a bit of a cooking class on the Sunday night, which again, I think like you've already touched on it, it's all part of that experience in getting involved. And I think really showing people how easy it can be to create a really tasty, wholesome, filling, good
Absolutely.
food meal.
Absolutely. Like it doesn't have to be boring. And, and that's, I believe one of the reasons why I'm on the team is because I can show people that, I don't get bored. I've been a chef for 17 years, for 15, 16 years, I was cooking very sort of traditional sort of European based cookery.
Yeah.
And, just watching the food trends over the last sort of 10 years has really kind of made me, that was one of the catalysts to go down a whole food plant-based diet, is because that's where
Oops, I think we've lost you a little bit there. Nathan, are you with us? Ew. Oh no, looks like we've lost him. Well, it looks like he's gone, but I feel like we've at least covered somewhat of what Nathan is about, and you can see just through him talking his sincere passions and how much he really is on board with whole food, and why he's on board with whole food and how it will affect your life. And that is the whole perspective of the retreat, is we really want to give you an understanding from a very holistic perspective around food, around the products we use, and around other ways that we can really move through life in a more positive way, and make those better conscious decisions for ourselves, for our children, and for the lineage of our earth, really. So if you have any questions extra for Nathan, please do comment on the feed, and I know he'll get back to you, and I'm sure you'll get to check in with him again at some point. So thanks for listening.